Cars are evolving all of the time. A lot of the features that we have now in our modern cars were absolutely unthinkable 20 years ago. You go back even further than that, even things like connecting your mobile phone, having a satellite navigation in there, and even features that we consider absolutely essential these days, such as ABS, they were just not a thing. They were not even thought about. And with that, cars are constantly evolving. As we introduce new things, old things get phased out. But what features in current cars will be phased out within the next 5, 10, 20 years or so? Let's have a look, guys, and I'll give my thoughts as we go through this. So the first one that comes to mind is naturally aspirated engines. Engines that do not have turbochargers, engines that don't have any electric motors in them, so they are not a hybrid. And of course, electric vehicles, they don't have any kind of internal combustion engine in them. And the elimination of normally aspirated engines is something that has been happening over the last 10 years. It's really been accelerated. While electric vehicles are more popular than ever, while hybrids are more popular than ever, the actual normally aspirated cars themselves are becoming very rare. Turbochargers are becoming very prevalent in these, even in cars that aren't that high in terms of performance. I mean, I love my car, don't get me wrong, but it is not a quick car, not particularly quick by today's standards, but it still has a low pressure turbocharger in there. And why is this? Fuel economy. If you can deliver more power output for the same amount of air going into your engine, then that's great. You'll burn a lot less fuel doing it, so therefore it's a lot better when it comes to the fuel economy, so manufacturers do prefer it. So over time, eventually, a lot of cars will just be either hybrids, turbocharged internal combustion engines, or electric vehicles, or even something like a hydrogen powered car. But the days of the internal combustion engine, normally aspirated vehicle, they are very much numbered when it comes to most types of cars these days. Analog gauges is the next one. Of course, a lot of things nowadays in cars are digitized. You can literally get the telemetry of your car up on a screen or on the heads-up display or something like that. So the need for analog gauges is very much dwindling at this point. And this is fair enough in a sense, At the end of the day, analog gauges, they are very retro. A lot of people like the look of them, but at the same time, they are not as accurate. You look at some of the older analog gauges in cars, and like the fuel gauge, for example, that used to sometimes move up and down depending on whether you're cornering or not. It's not exactly 100%, whereas a digital readout of how many miles of fuel you have remaining, that is absolutely black and white. You cannot misinterpret that. If you do, get your eyes checked. You need some new glasses because it's very clear how much is actually left. The days of having analog gauges in your car, they are very much going to be limited. Mine does still have some analog gauges in my car, but they're always backed up with something that is digital as well. Like, for example, again, the fuel gauge. I can see how much fuel I have if I go on the little meter for the analog gauge, but it will also tell me how many miles of fuel I also have with a digital gauge as well. Handbrake levers are up next. Electronic handbrakes have been around for a very long time. The first one was actually introduced all the way back in 2001. Now, of course, like anything, this was considered to be a premium feature on the highest class of vehicles, but nowadays it'll be in most average everyday cars. My car does actually have a regular handbrake, it has the actual lever, but this is becoming rarer and rarer. A lot of times nowadays it's just a little flick switch basically that you can put on manually, or the handbrake will actually automatically put itself on if you have that setting enabled, if you just stay on the brake pedal for long enough. So having a good old handbrake, an actual lever for that, the days of those are very much numbered. I get it. I totally understand it. No problem at all. It's just these things do move on. Flip-up headlights is an interesting one as well. This is something that goes far beyond my time. This goes way back in the day. They're not very popular these days, and they haven't been that popular for a very long time. And there are a few reasons for this. It's not because some people might think they're a little bit inefficient. They're more prone to braking. Obviously, if the little motor that makes them flip up when you actually want to see them, if that breaks, then you don't have a headlight, which is not very good or safe. But on top of that as well, there's also the safety aspect as well. Not for you, but for pedestrians. If you hit a pedestrian and they kind of go on top of that while the headlights are up, it is something that could cause additional injuries for the pedestrian in that kind of scenario. And as we are constantly driving for more and more safety, and more safety for not only the driver but also for the pedestrian in terms of an accident, they are very much going to be numbered. There's not many of them left really, but I imagine eventually they may well be banned, which would be a bit sad, but these things do change. And the last one, manual transmissions. Now, over in the States, This has been happening for a long time. Automatics are extremely popular over in the US. That doesn't mean to say there aren't a lot of cars that do have manual transmissions, but they are very rare compared to a lot of the rest of the world. I think Australia, they got lots of automatics too. Again, it's just lending towards better roads. Here in Europe, our roads are absolute trash for the most part, so we don't have as many automatics, especially here in the UK. Automatics, for the most part here, are nowhere near as popular, but they're becoming more and more popular. Not least, of course, for electric vehicles. All of those are, of course, automatics. They do not have gears in the traditional sense. They just have an electric motor. So in that sense, they're becoming rarer. But on top of that as well, the technology in automatics is becoming a lot better too, and it's better suited to deal with these difficult roads we have in places like Europe. And eventually manual transmissions will just be a thing of the past. A lot of people just won't want to do it. Personally, my car, I know I do it personally for me. I know I've done a lot of anecdotes about my car. My car's a manual. I love it. I've driven automatics. It's fine. It's not the same though. I always prefer manuals personally, but I do understand, especially as, you know, people kind of age out, for lack of a better term. A lot of people these days are driving with automatic licenses rather than regular driving licenses. I don't know what the rules are in different parts of the world, but here in the UK, you can learn in an automatic car when you're doing your driving test. And if you do, you can only drive automatics. Legally, you cannot drive a manual. You have to go do a retest to be able to do that. So because of that, because it's a lot easier, a lot of people these days are just passing with automatics, which is a bit sad, but it's not a surprise either, to be honest. Like I said, electric vehicles becoming more popular, and just from an ease of access point of view, manuals are just going to become more and more rare as time goes on. But yeah, guys, those are 5 features that could well disappear from new cars in the next 5, 10, 20 years or so, roughly. Which one do you think will be a thing of the past? I want to hear what you have to say in the comments below. Like, share, comment, subscribe as always, guys, and a fantastic day wherever in the world today, and we'll see you very soon.